My beloved child, listen to me, not the noise around you, not the thoughts racing through your head, not the heaviness that tries to speak louder than truth. Listen to me, because I am not far. I am not distracted. I am not unaware. And I am not letting this continue the way it has been. Right now, right here in this moment, I am reaching into the deepest places of your inner world, the places you don't even have words for, the places where you've locked pain away because you didn't know what else to do with it. I am entering the rooms you've kept closed. I am touching the wounds you've learned to live with. I am dismantling what has been suffocating you, layer by layer. That weight you've carried, it wasn't designed for your shoulders. That heaviness you've dragged from day to day, it wasn't meant to be your identity. That sadness that greets you before your feet even touch the floor, that exhaustion that sleep doesn't repair, that numbness that makes you feel like you're watching life through a thick window, I see it. And I am telling you clearly, I am lifting it. Not with a temporary rush, not with a moment that fades by tonight, not with an emotional high that collapses tomorrow. I am bringing something deeper, something that settles into your bones and changes what normal feels like. And hear me, this is not happening because you finally found the right formula. It's not happening because you earned your way into relief. It's not happening because you performed well enough to qualify. It is happening because I have decided your season of sorrow does not continue indefinitely. And no, you did not land here by accident. This wasn't random. This wasn't an algorithm. This wasn't coincidence. I arranged this moment. I guided your attention. I drew you to these words because there is something you need to hear before your day continues, before you slip back into routine, before the world tries to talk over my voice. I am speaking to you, not to the crowd, not to someone out there, to you. I know your name. I know the shape of your pain, where it started, how it grew, and how it learned to hide. I know the lies you've rehearsed in the dark. I know the fears you carry behind polite smiles. I know what you replay when you're alone, the memories, the regret, the what-ifs, the self-questioning that never seems to stop. I know the moments you felt like you were losing your grip, and you wondered if anyone would notice. And I need you to understand this. That suffocating darkness did not come from me. I did not create you for constant sorrow. I did not form you to live chained to heaviness. I did not design you for survival mode. You were created for life, full, rich, steady. You were created for peace that anchors you. You were created for joy that is deeper than circumstances. But an enemy has been whispering, and he's patient. He repeats lies until they sound familiar. He says the same thing in different ways until it starts feeling like truth. He told you, this is just who you are now. He told you, you'll always be like this. He told you, some people are meant to suffer. He told you, joy is for others, not you. He told you, peace is a fantasy. He told you, the best you can do is get through the day without collapsing. And because you've been tired, and because you've been wounded, and because you've been fighting silently, part of you started to believe him. But I am exposing those lies. Right now, you are not doomed. You are not trapped. You are not too far gone. You are not the exception that never gets restored. You are mine. And I have not been watching you drown without moving. I saw you waking up and trying again, even when you didn't want to. I saw you pushing through conversations you couldn't feel. I saw you laughing at jokes while your heart felt hollow. I saw you holding yourself together in public and breaking in private. I saw you reaching for distractions at night, searching for anything that would quiet your thoughts for 5 minutes. I saw you stare at the ceiling and wonder, will this ever change? And I want you to hear this clearly. Even when you couldn't feel me, I was near. Even when you doubted me, I didn't release you. Even when you were angry, I stayed. Even when you were numb, I was present. I held you when you didn't have the strength to hold yourself. And I did not keep you alive just to keep you suffering. I preserved you because your story isn't finished. I sustained you because your future still has pages you haven't lived. I protected you because there are assignments attached to your life that require you to be fully alive, not just breathing, not just existing, but living with strength, clarity, and purpose. So I am intervening. I am removing the weight off your chest. I am clearing the fog that has clouded your thinking. I am healing what trauma and stress have strained. I am restoring what years of pain tried to damage. And I'm not giving you a patch that peels off later. This is deeper. This is lasting. This is restoration. You've told yourself, I have to earn healing. You've thought, if I pray harder, if I read more, if I do better, if I fix myself, maybe God will help. But my love is not a paycheck you work for. My mercy is not something you qualify for by performance. My presence is not a reward for perfection. I heal you because I love you. I restore you because I chose you. I move because my nature is faithful. You cannot make me love you more, and you cannot make me love you less. My love for you does not rise and fall with your best days and your worst days. It is constant. And what is happening in you is not merely you thinking positive. I'm not handing you shallow motivation. I am touching the roots. I am rewiring the patterns in your mind. I am healing the places where fear became habit. I am restoring the places where trauma trained your nervous system to expect danger. I am repairing what chronic stress has worn down. I am teaching your spirit to breathe again. And yes, I know you've asked me before. You prayed for relief. You asked for the heaviness to lift. You begged to feel like yourself again, and you wondered why it didn't happen immediately. But I heard every prayer. I saw every tear. I collected what you thought was wasted, and I was preparing timing. Because I don't just aim for temporary relief, I aim for transformation. There is a difference between feeling better for a day and being restored at the foundation. And I'm telling you, this is a foundation moment. You might be afraid to hope. You might feel skeptical. You might be thinking, I've heard encouragement before and nothing changed. But I am not people. People promise and forget. People mean well and still fail. People speak hope and then disappear. But when I speak, my word carries power. I spoke the universe into being. I set oceans in their boundaries. I formed your body with intention. I numbered your days. I know your thoughts before you speak them. Do you really believe that depression is bigger than me? Do you really believe that darkness has more authority than my light? No. I am removing heaviness, and I am removing the shame attached to it. Because you have been so hard on yourself, you've been comparing your insides to other people's outsides. You've been asking, what's wrong with me? You've been thinking you should be stronger, faster, better, more spiritual, more stable. And you've been living under inner accusation, like there's a voice inside that never stops pointing out your flaws. But hear me. You are not weak because you've struggled. You are not a failure because you've had dark days. You are not defective because your mind has been tired. You have carried burdens you were never meant to carry alone. And the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still trying, still listening, reveals something powerful. You have survived what should have broken you. That's not weakness. That's endurance. And I am proud of you, not for pretending, not for performing, not for being fine. I am proud of you for staying alive when you didn't want to. I am proud of you for getting up when your body felt heavy. I am proud of you for choosing one more day, again and again. Warriors get wounded. That doesn't disqualify them. That proves they've been in the fight. Now listen, the false labels are burning away. The enemy's accusations are losing their grip. The identity formed in pain is being replaced by truth. You are not your worst moment. You are not your biggest regret. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are my child, created with purpose, carrying gifts the world needs. And that is why you've been under pressure. Because there is something attached to your life that terrifies the enemy. He tried to crush you before you could stand. He tried to silence you before you could speak. He tried to numb you before you could feel again. He tried to distract you before you could become focused. He tried to bury you before you could bloom. But he failed. You are still here. And now I am restoring what was stolen, and then some. I'm returning joy. Not shallow happiness, but deep inner strength. I'm returning peace, not the absence of problems, but my presence in the middle of them. I'm returning clarity, the ability to think again, to decide again, to move again. I'm returning strength, the resilience to endure and the courage to build. And I'm not only restoring what you lost, I'm building what you never had, a steady foundation inside you. Because I'm bringing you into a season where you won't just survive, you will thrive. But I need you to release something, because you have been dragging old weight into new days. My beloved child, you've been carrying guilt for what I already covered. You've been holding yourself hostage for past mistakes. You've been living under a sentence I never wrote. You keep revisiting old failures like a courtroom replay. And I'm telling you, stop living as both the accused and the judge. If I have forgiven you, don't keep condemning yourself. If I have cleansed you, don't keep calling yourself dirty. If I have restored you, don't keep speaking brokenness over yourself. Drop the chains. Release the past. Not because it didn't matter, but because it cannot lead you anymore. Let it teach you. Let it shape wisdom. But do not let it dictate your identity. And yes, forgiving yourself may be one of the hardest parts, because you remember details. You remember choices. You remember words you wish you could take back. But listen to me. You can't rewrite yesterday, but you can walk differently tomorrow, and I will walk with you. Now, there's another release I'm calling you in to forgive those who wounded you. Not to excuse what happened. Not to pretend it was okay. Not to invite them back into your life. But to free your own heart from being tied to them. Because unforgiveness keeps the wound open. It keeps the memory alive with fresh poison. Forgiveness is not saying, it didn't hurt. Forgiveness is saying, it will not control me. I will help you. I will give you strength to loosen your grip. I will give you grace to release what you couldn't release alone. And when you do, you will feel something shift. Because bitterness is heavy. Resentment drains. Revenge keeps you chained to the past. But freedom makes you light enough to move forward. And I am calling you forward. I am bringing new people into your life. Healthy people, steady people. People who build you instead of draining you. People who speak truth without cruelty. People who don't compete with your growth. People who are not threatened by your healing. Some relationships have fallen away, and you felt the sting. But I removed what would have pulled you backward, because the version of you that is emerging can't keep dragging old anchors. I cleared space. Now watch what I fill it with. I am opening doors, opportunities that match your gifts, provision that arrives unexpectedly, connections that strengthen you, platforms that amplify your purpose. And the enemy will be confused, because he thought the pressure would end you. But it refined you. He thought the pain would silence you, but it trained your voice. He thought the delay meant denial, but I was preparing timing. Now, pause. Breathe. I want you to notice something. Even as you're listening, something in you is shifting. A little more air, a little more hope, a little more softness where you've been hard. That's me. And I'm not done. Because I'm not only lifting heaviness, I'm restoring vision. I'm giving you dreams again, dreams you buried because hope felt dangerous. Dreams you hid because disappointment hurt. Dreams you stopped naming because you were tired of being let down. But I'm breathing on them again. And this time, you won't carry them alone. You will walk with me. You will build with me. You will rise with me. And you will realize you were never abandoned. You were being prepared. So hear me. Your season is changing, not because the world suddenly became gentle, but because my hand is moving. Not because you became perfect, but because my love is faithful. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe me? Not do you understand this mentally, not does this sound good. Do you believe it deeply enough to start living like it's true? Because faith isn't a feeling. Faith is a choice. Faith says, I will trust God's word more than my fear. Faith says, I will move even if my hands shake. Faith says, I will get up again. Faith says, I will stop agreeing with the enemy. And I am giving you the strength to choose faith, so lift your head. You are not who pain said you were. You are not who depression tried to name you. You are not your worst season. You are mine. And I am restoring you, starting now. Now listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to say matters more than you realize. There has been a battle happening in your life that you couldn't see clearly while you were inside it. A quiet war. A slow pressure. A persistent attempt to wear you down. Not all at once, but little by little. The enemy didn't try to destroy you in one dramatic moment. He tried to exhaust you. He tried to confuse you. He tried to numb you. Because he knows something, a tired soul is easier to deceive than a strong one. So he studied you. He learned what hurts you most. He noticed what makes you doubt yourself. He watched where you tend to pull away. He observed the moments when your guard drops. Late at night, early in the morning, when you're alone with your thoughts. And he used subtlety. He didn't always shout lies. Sometimes he whispered them. Sometimes he disguised them as logic. Sometimes he wrapped them in realism. Sometimes he used your own voice against you. This is just how life is. You've already tried. You're asking for too much. You should know better by now. Nothing really changes. And after hearing it enough times, part of you started to agree. But agreement with a lie does not make it true. And I am breaking that agreement right now. Because you were never meant to live under constant pressure. You were never meant to wake up already tired of existing. You were never meant to feel like life is something you must endure instead of something you can participate in. I did not design you to be stuck. And you need to understand something important. Just because pain has been present for a long time does not mean it has permission to stay. Duration does not equal authority. And I am stepping in. There is a shift happening around you, even if your circumstances haven't caught up yet. Behind the scenes, things are being dismantled. Assignments sent against you are losing power. Strategies meant to discourage you are unraveling. Doors that were closed are loosening their hinges. You might feel resistance right now. That's normal, because when change approaches, the enemy makes one last attempt to convince you it's pointless. He wants you to close this message. He wants you to disengage. He wants you to say, this sounds nice, but it's not for me. Because if you receive this, if you believe it, everything begins to change. So let me remind you of the truth. You are not weak because you needed help. You are not failing because you're still healing. You are not behind because your path looks different. You have been doing the best you could with what you had while carrying more weight than most people ever see. And I have never once been disappointed in you. Not once. I know the moments you feel ashamed of. I know the choices you replay. I know the inner dialogue that tries to tear you down. But I don't define you by your lowest points. I define you by who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is stronger than who you have been. There is something forming in you right now. A steadiness you didn't have before. A clarity you've been missing. A resilience that wasn't there in earlier seasons. You don't see it yet, but you will. Because what you thought was breaking you was actually shaping you. The pressure you've been under did not destroy you. It refined you. The delay you hated did not disqualify you. It prepared you. The pain you questioned did not mean I abandoned you. It meant I was building something deeper than comfort. And now that foundation is ready, which is why I'm calling you to let go of something that has quietly been draining you, living in constant self-accusation. You've been replaying old moments like evidence against yourself. You've been speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. You've been measuring your worth by past outcomes instead of present truth. And I'm asking you, right now, to stop holding yourself hostage to what has already been redeemed. You don't need to keep proving how sorry you are. You don't need to keep reminding yourself of what went wrong. You don't need to keep revisiting what I've already healed. That is not humility. That is self-imprisonment. And I didn't free you so you could rebuild the cell from the inside. Release it. Release the need to keep paying for what grace already covered. Release the inner voice that keeps dragging you backward. Release the identity formed in survival mode. You are not who you were in your worst season, and you never will be again. Now let's talk about forgiveness, because this is where many people stay stuck without realizing it. There are people who wounded you deeply, people who should have protected you but didn't, people who crossed lines and never looked back, people who owe you apologies they may never give. And I know, forgiveness feels unfair. It feels like letting them win. It feels like minimizing the damage. It feels like reopening something painful. But forgiveness is not about them. Forgiveness is about freeing you from carrying what they left behind. Unforgiveness keeps the wound open. It keeps you tied to the moment that hurt you. It allows the past to keep speaking into your present. But forgiveness loosens the grip. It does not excuse the harm. It does not erase boundaries. It does not require reconciliation. It simply says, I will not let this define me anymore, and I will help you do it. I will give you the strength to release what feels impossible. I will walk you through it step by step. I will not rush you, but I will not leave you stuck, because there is more ahead of you than behind you, and you cannot carry yesterday into tomorrow without exhausting yourself. Now hear this. I am bringing new people into your life, people who don't drain you, people who don't compete with your growth, people who don't require you to shrink to make them comfortable. Some relationships ended and you thought it was your fault. But I removed what could not go where you're going. They were connected to an older version of you, a version that was surviving, not rising, and they would not have known how to walk beside the version of you that is emerging now. So I made room, and in that space, I am planting connections rooted in honesty, safety, and mutual growth. You will recognize them, not because they're perfect, but because they bring peace instead of pressure. And alongside new relationships, I am opening new opportunities. Doors you didn't force. Paths you didn't manipulate. Provision that doesn't come with panic. I am shifting how you experience work, purpose, and provision. You will notice things begin to align. You will notice ideas flowing again. You will notice energy returning where burnout once lived. And you'll realize something quietly powerful. You are not chasing life anymore. Life is responding to you. But I need you to understand this clearly. None of this requires you to become someone else. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You don't need to perform a new identity. You don't need to fix yourself into worthiness. You need to return to who you've always been beneath the weight, because you were never broken. You were burdened, and burdens can be lifted. Now let me speak to your future, because you've been afraid to look too far ahead. You stopped imagining. You stopped dreaming. You stopped expecting good things because disappointment hurt too much. But I'm restoring your vision. Not reckless fantasy, clear, grounded hope. Hope that says, I can build again. Hope that says I can trust again. Hope that says I can move forward without being afraid of falling apart. I am resurrecting the parts of you that went quiet. Your creativity, your confidence, your desire, your curiosity. You will feel yourself wanting again. Not out of desperation, but from wholeness. And you will realize that what you called loss was actually a stripping away of what didn't belong. So now I ask you, are you willing to move? Not when everything feels perfect, not when fear disappears, not when every answer is clear, but now. Are you willing to take the step even if your hands shake? Are you willing to trust me even if your voice trembles? Are you willing to believe me more than you believe the thoughts that tried to defeat you? Because faith does not mean fear is absent. Faith means fear does not decide. And I am calling you out of the place where you've been waiting for permission to live. You don't need permission. You need alignment. Alignment with truth. Alignment with hope. Alignment with who you are becoming. And I am with you in every step. If you stumble, I will steady you. If you hesitate, I will guide you. If you fall, I will lift you. You cannot go so far that I cannot reach you. You cannot fail so deeply that I abandon you. I am committed to you, and I am not done. There is still more unfolding, more healing, more clarity, more restoration, more peace. And this is only the beginning. Now I want you to stay with me because what I'm about to reveal explains why the last season felt so heavy and why the next one will feel so different. There are seasons where I comfort you, and there are seasons where I prepare you. And preparation often feels confusing while you're inside it. Preparation feels like pressure. Preparation feels like pruning. Preparation feels like delay. Preparation feels like silence. But silence does not mean absence. In the last season, I wasn't ignoring you. I was strengthening you beneath the surface. I was teaching you discernment. I was sharpening your awareness. I was training your spirit to recognize truth from noise. I was building endurance you didn't even know you'd need, because the life ahead of you requires a deeper foundation than the life behind you. If I had moved you forward too quickly, you would have collapsed under what you asked for. So I slowed things down. I let certain doors stay closed longer than you wanted. I let certain answers take more time than felt fair. I allowed you to feel stretched because expansion requires room. And now you are ready. You don't feel ready, but you are. Because readiness isn't confidence. Readiness is capacity. And you have more capacity now than you realize. You can handle more clarity. You can handle more responsibility. You can handle more blessing. You can handle more influence. And the enemy knows it. That's why the resistance intensified right before this shift. Because the greatest pressure always comes right before release. So if you felt unusually tired, if your thoughts have felt louder than normal, if discouragement tried one last time to pull you backward, that's not coincidence. That's confirmation. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't about to move, and you are moving. Now let me speak to your mind for a moment, because this is where most battles are actually decided. You have been living with an inner narrator that constantly prepares for disappointment. You've learned to say, I won't get my hopes up. You've learned to expect things to fall apart. You've learned to assume good moments won't last. And that mindset protected you for a time. It helped you survive disappointment. It helped you endure loss. It helped you avoid heartbreak. But survival strategies don't belong in seasons of restoration. And if you carry them forward, they will sabotage what I'm trying to give you. I am calling you to update the way you think. Not with denial, not with pretending everything is perfect, but with expectation. Expectation says, something good is possible. Expectation says, God is involved. Expectation says, I don't have to brace for impact anymore. Expectation is not arrogance, it's agreement with truth. And the truth is this, I am working on your behalf. Even when you don't see immediate evidence, I am aligning people. I am shifting timing. I am opening pathways. I am arranging conversations. I am positioning opportunities. And if you're not careful, a mindset trained in disappointment will overlook the very miracles you've been praying for. So I'm asking you to retrain your eyes. Start looking for my hand instead of waiting for disaster. Start noticing what is going right instead of rehearsing what could go wrong. Start thanking me before the breakthrough arrives. Not because you're ignoring reality, but because you trust me more than fear. This shift will feel unfamiliar at first. Your mind may resist it. Old thoughts may argue. Doubt may try to interrupt, but stay with it, because peace grows where trust is practiced. Now let me remind you who you are, because identity determines direction. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are not labeled by what you lost. You are not marked by your worst season. You are defined by my word. And my word says, you are loved without condition. You are chosen with intention. You are forgiven completely. You are restored purposefully. You are strengthened daily. You are not an orphan trying to survive on scraps. You are my child, with access to everything I have. Stop living as if you have no support. Stop carrying burdens you were never meant to carry alone. Stop talking about yourself like you're defeated. Lift your head. You don't walk into rooms unnoticed. You don't move through life unseen. You don't take steps without guidance. I am with you. And because I am with you, you don't need to have everything figured out. You only need to stay connected. Connection brings clarity. Connection brings strength. Connection brings direction. And I want to deepen that connection. Not through rules, not through performance, not through fear-based religion, through relationship. I want you to talk to me. Not only when you're desperate, but when you're calm. Not only when things are falling apart, but when things are going well. Invite me into the ordinary moments. When you wake up, acknowledge me. When you're unsure, ask me. When you're grateful, thank me. When you're overwhelmed, lean on me. You don't need perfect words. I'm not impressed by speeches. I'm moved by honesty. Bring me your doubts. Bring me your questions. Bring me your frustration. Bring me your hope. I can handle all of it. And I need you to know something important. I am not like the people who hurt you. I don't withdraw when you struggle. I don't shame you for weakness. I don't abandon you when you disappoint yourself. I don't use your past against you. I stay when you're confused. I stay when you're hurting. I stay when you don't understand what I'm doing. And because I stay, healing can continue. Now let me address something you rarely talk about out loud. There were moments when you questioned whether I was really listening. Moments when you wondered if your prayers mattered. Moments when silence felt personal. But I want you to hear this. Your prayers were never ignored. Your tears were never wasted. Your pain was never pointless. Every moment you thought was lost is being redeemed. What the enemy meant to use to break you will become the very thing that gives you authority to help others. Your story is not something to hide. It is something that will bring light to others who feel alone in theirs. One day you will look back and realize the valley gave you compassion. The delay gave you wisdom. The pain gave you discernment. The struggle gave you strength. And you will be able to stand with confidence, not because you never fell, but because you got back up. And I kept you. Now I want to speak to your future with clarity. There are opportunities ahead of you that require courage. You will be asked to step into rooms you once felt unqualified for. You will be invited into conversations that stretch you. You will be trusted with responsibilities you once prayed for. And fear will try to whisper, "You're not ready." But remember this. I don't call the qualified. I qualify the called. If I bring you to it, I will walk you through it. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be willing. And willingness is enough for me to work with. I will give you wisdom for decisions. I will give you discernment for people. I will give you peace when choices feel heavy. And even if you make a mistake, even if you misstep, I will still work it out. Because I am not committed to you only when you get everything right. I am committed to you, period. Now let me ask you something important. Are you ready to stop living as if something is always about to go wrong? Are you ready to stop bracing for impact? Are you ready to believe that good things are allowed to happen to you? Because this belief will change how you move. It will change how you speak. It will change how you decide. It will change what you tolerate. You will stop settling. You will stop shrinking. You will stop apologizing for taking up space. Not because you became arrogant, but because you became anchored. Anchored in truth. Anchored in love. Anchored in identity. And when you are anchored, storms lose their power to define you. They may still come, but they won't own you. And that's when others will notice something different. They'll notice the calm in your voice. They'll notice the steadiness in your presence. They'll notice the confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. And they will ask, what changed? And you will know the answer. I am not finished restoring you. This is not the end of the process. This is the beginning of a new way of living, a way that isn't driven by fear, a way that isn't fueled by shame, a way that isn't anchored in survival, but one that is rooted in trust. And I will continue walking with you step by step. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are becoming. Now I want you to hear this with clarity, because this is where many people hesitate, right on the edge of transformation. When healing begins, it often feels unfamiliar. Not painful like before, just unfamiliar. You've lived so long in survival mode that peace feels strange. You've carried tension for so long that calm feels suspicious. You've learned to stay guarded, so openness feels risky. And your mind may try to pull you back, not because healing is wrong, but because it is new. But do not retreat. Discomfort does not always mean danger. Sometimes it means growth. I am teaching you how to live without bracing for impact. I am teaching your nervous system that it is safe to rest. I am teaching your heart that it does not need to stay armored. I am teaching your mind that not every thought deserves your agreement. And as this happens, something powerful begins to rise in you. Authority, not arrogance, not dominance, not control. Authority that comes from knowing who you are and where you stand. Because when you know who you are, the enemy's voice loses volume. When you know whose you are, accusations lose power. And you are beginning to know. You are beginning to recognize when thoughts are not aligned with truth. You are beginning to notice when fear tries to disguise itself as logic. You are beginning to pause instead of panic. That pause, that moment of clarity, that's growth. And it's only the beginning. Now I want to speak to the weight you've carried around purpose. Because you've wondered quietly if your life truly matters. You've asked yourself questions you didn't say out loud. Did I miss my moment? Did I mess up too badly? Is it too late for me? Does my life actually make a difference? And I need you to hear this clearly. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not behind schedule. I am not bound by timelines the way humans are. I redeem time. What feels delayed to you is not wasted to me. I can restore years in ways you cannot predict. And the calling on your life did not disappear because of mistakes, detours, or darkness. If anything, it was refined. Your sensitivity was sharpened. Your compassion was deepened. Your discernment was strengthened. You understand pain in a way others don't. And that understanding is not a curse, it is preparation. Because you will recognize brokenness in others without judging it. You will hear pain beneath words. You will offer safety where others offer advice. You will be able to sit with people who are hurting, not to fix them, but to walk with them. That is not weakness. That is assignment. And you are stepping closer to it now. which is why resistance tried so hard to keep you numb, because a healed version of you is dangerous to darkness. A grounded version of you cannot be manipulated. A secure version of you cannot be controlled by fear. A restored version of you cannot be silenced. And you are becoming that version. Slowly, steadily, intentionally. Now let me talk to you about movement, because stagnation has been one of the enemy's favorite tools. He tried to keep you waiting for a perfect sign. He tried to keep you stuck analyzing every option. He tried to convince you that stillness meant safety. But stagnation is not safety. Movement activates faith. And I am not asking you to leap blindly. I am asking you to take the next step. Not 10 steps ahead. Not the whole plan. Just the next step. That phone call you've been avoiding. That habit you know you need to release. That boundary you've been afraid to set. That dream you stopped speaking out loud. The next step does not need to be dramatic. It just needs to be obedient. Because obedience opens doors clarity cannot. And as you move, I will guide. I will adjust your direction when needed. I will redirect you gently, not harshly. I will close doors that would harm you. I will open doors that align with you. You don't need to fear choosing wrong. Even when you misstep, I can still work. I am not fragile. My plans do not collapse because of human imperfection. I weave even mistakes into growth. So stop letting fear paralyze you. Fear has been loud, but it has not been truthful. Now I want to speak to your body and soul together. You have lived with tension so long that it became familiar. Tight shoulders, shallow breaths, a mind that rarely rests. And I am restoring you holistically. Mind, body, spirit. You will notice moments of calm returning. You will notice your breathing deepen. You will notice your sleep improve. You will notice your thoughts slow. Do not resist this. You are not losing alertness. You are gaining peace. Peace does not make you passive. Peace makes you precise. And as peace settles, clarity follows. You will begin to recognize what drains you. You will begin to honor your limits without guilt. You will begin to choose what nourishes you. That is not selfish. That is stewardship. I am teaching you how to care for what I entrusted to you. Now hear this part carefully. There will be people who don't recognize you anymore. Not because you became cold, but because you became whole. Your boundaries will confuse them. Your calm will unsettle them. Your growth will confront them. And that is okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next season. Some were only meant to walk with you through survival. Do not chase what I am releasing. Do not explain what I am changing. Let growth speak for itself. I am bringing alignment into your life, slowly, deliberately. And alignment always requires separation. But what I remove, I replace with healthier connections, with clearer purpose, with deeper peace. You will not be alone. Now I want to speak prophetically over what's ahead. There are moments coming when you will realize, this is why I went through that. Not with bitterness, not with regret, but with understanding. You will see how pain prepared you. You will see how delays protected you. You will see how closed doors redirected you. And you will thank me, not for the pain, but for the presence that carried you through it. Because you did not walk alone. I was there when you cried in silence. I was there when you doubted yourself. I was there when you felt unseen. I was there when you held on by a thread. And I am here now, still guiding, still restoring, still strengthening. And I am not rushing this process. Deep roots take time, but once rooted, nothing easily uproots you. And that is what I am building in you. Stability, confidence, peace, purpose. You are stepping into a season where you don't just react, you respond. Where you don't just endure, you choose, where you don't just survive, you live. And you will look back at who you were and realize you didn't break. You transformed. Now I want you to understand something that will anchor you as everything begins to unfold. Restoration is not loud at first. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush in with spectacle. It often begins quietly, like light entering a dark room through a crack you barely noticed. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss how much has already changed. You're thinking differently. You're pausing instead of reacting. You're questioning thoughts that once controlled you. You're choosing rest where you once chose exhaustion. Those are not small shifts. They are evidence. Evidence that healing is working its way outward. And soon others will notice too. They may not know how to explain it, but they'll sense something different when they're around you. Your presence will feel calmer. Your words will carry weight. Your reactions will feel measured instead of rushed. And people will begin to ask what changed. Not because you became louder, but because you became grounded. And that is authority. Authority that doesn't need to prove itself. Authority that doesn't demand attention. Authority that simply is. And as this authority settles into you, I will begin to trust you with more influence, more responsibility, more opportunity. Not because you're flawless, but because you're stable. I do not place weight on fragile foundations, and you are no longer fragile. Now let me speak to the idea of breakthrough. Because you've been waiting for something dramatic. You imagined it as one big moment, one sudden shift, one instant where everything becomes easy. But often, breakthrough looks like momentum. Small wins stacking together. Clarity replacing confusion. Confidence replacing hesitation. You will wake up one day and realize, I don't feel stuck anymore. Not because every problem vanished, but because you finally moved. And movement changes everything. You're entering a season where doors open as you walk, not before. Where understanding comes after obedience, not before. Where peace meets you in motion, not in avoidance. This is why I've been strengthening you internally. Because the external shift requires internal readiness. And now, you're ready. Now I want to speak to your testimony, because it matters more than you think. Your story is not something to minimize. It's not something to hide. It's not something to downplay. What you survived will become what saves others. Not by preaching, not by forcing advice, but by presence, by saying, I've been there, by listening without judgment, by offering hope that feels real. People will trust you because you don't pretend. They will open up to you because you understand pain without needing to analyze it. And you will realize nothing you went through was wasted. Every tear watered something. Every delay shaped something. Every battle strengthened something. And when you speak, whether quietly or boldly, your words will carry weight because they come from lived experience. Now let me speak to the courage you are about to need, because growth invites challenge. As you rise, some people will misunderstand you. As you heal, some will feel exposed. As you set boundaries, some will resist. Do not mistake resistance for failure. Resistance often confirms that you are moving in the right direction. Not everyone will celebrate your healing. Some people benefited from your brokenness. Some people felt comfortable when you were unsure. Some people liked you better when you doubted yourself. But you were never meant to stay small to keep others comfortable. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. I am your defender. Now listen carefully, because this next part is important. There will be moments when old thoughts try to return. Moments when fear whispers familiar lines. Moments when discouragement tries to remind you of who you used to be. Do not panic when that happens. Healing does not mean old patterns never knock. It means they no longer have authority. You do not need to argue with every thought. You do not need to engage every fear. You can simply recognize it and let it pass. You are no longer obligated to entertain what once controlled you, and every time you choose not to agree with it, your freedom strengthens. Now let me speak to your future with confidence. You will not always feel this way. You will not always struggle like you did. You will not always carry the same weight. There is joy ahead of you, real joy. There is peace ahead of you, lasting peace. There is clarity ahead of you, steady clarity. And there is purpose unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. You are stepping into a season where things begin to align, where conversations happen at the right time, where opportunities feel timely, not forced, where provision arrives without panic. And you will look back and say something shifted. And it did, not because you became someone else, but because you returned to yourself. Now let me say this with finality. You are not broken. You never were. You were wounded. You were burdened. You were tired. But broken things cannot heal, and you are healing, which means you were whole all along. You are not defined by the season that hurt you. You are defined by the one who carried you through it. And as you move forward, remember this: you do not walk alone. You do not build alone. You do not heal alone. I am with you in your decisions, in your silence, in your growth, and I will continue to guide you step by step. There is still more ahead, more life, more peace, more purpose. And the best part, you don't have to rush. You just have to stay connected. Now I want to take you beyond survival thinking, because you've lived there long enough. You learned how to manage pain. You learned how to function while hurting. You learned how to get through days without falling apart. And that strength kept you alive. But survival is not the destination. It was the bridge. And now I am leading you across it. Because what I am doing in your life is not just about healing what was broken, it's about expanding what is possible. You've been measuring your future by your past experiences. You've been asking, what usually happens, instead of what could happen with God involved. And those are two very different questions. The first keeps you cautious. The second opens you to transformation. I am calling you to lift your expectations, not recklessly, not arrogantly, but faithfully. Faith does not deny difficulty. Faith denies difficulty the final word. And as you begin to expect differently, you will notice opportunities you once overlooked. You will recognize doors that were always there but required courage to open. You will hear invitations you would have dismissed before. You will sense nudges you once ignored, because confidence is returning, not loud confidence but quiet certainty. The kind that doesn't need approval, the kind that doesn't panic under pressure, the kind that trusts timing. And timing matters. There are things I could have given you earlier, but they would have overwhelmed you then. Now they will strengthen you. This is why I say you were not delayed, you were prepared. Now let me speak to provision, because uncertainty around resources has weighed heavily on you. You've worried about stability. You've worried about money. You've worried about how things would work out. And worry made sense when you felt alone. But you are not alone. And I am teaching you to move from anxiety into trust. Not passive trust, but active trust. Trust that listens. Trust that obeys. Trust that moves when I say move. And as you align with that trust, provision will meet you. Not always in dramatic ways. Often in timely ways. The right conversation. The right opportunity, the right idea, the right connection. You will notice needs being met more smoothly. You will notice pressure easing. And you will realize that provision is not only about money, it's about support, wisdom, and access. I am not careless with my children. I know what you need. I know when you need it. I know how to provide it. And I do not miss details. Now hear this carefully. As things begin to improve, your responsibility will increase, not as a burden, but as stewardship. You will be trusted with more because you have learned humility in less. You will be trusted with influence because you learned empathy in pain. And I will guide you so that success does not pull you away from what matters. Because the goal is not arrival. The goal is alignment. Now let me address something important. You have spent so long explaining yourself. Explaining why you're tired. Explaining why you're cautious. Explaining why certain things are hard for you. But there is coming a season where you will no longer need to explain. Your life will speak. Your peace will answer questions. Your consistency will explain change. Your growth will speak louder than words. And you will realize you don't owe the past an explanation. You owe the future your presence. Now let me speak to fear because it still tries to visit. Fear will say, what if it doesn't last? Fear will say, what if you fall back? Fear will say, what if you hope and it hurts again? But fear is a voice, not a prophecy, and you are learning to discern voices. You no longer accept every thought as truth. You no longer let fear dictate direction. You no longer confuse caution with wisdom. Wisdom listens. Fear panics. And I am filling you with wisdom, wisdom that knows when to wait. Wisdom that knows when to act. Wisdom that recognizes what aligns with peace. This wisdom will protect you from repeating old cycles. Not by controlling you, but by guiding you. Now let me remind you of something fundamental. You do not need to rush your healing to prove anything. You do not need to rush your success to validate yourself. You do not need to rush your purpose to be worthy. You already are. And your worth is not measured by productivity, progress, or performance. It is anchored in who you are. And who you are is secure. As this security settles, you will find yourself saying no without guilt. You will walk away from what drains you. You will choose what nourishes you. You will protect your peace. Not because you became selfish, but because you became wise. And wisdom preserves what healing builds. Now let me speak into your confidence. You are not becoming fearless. You are becoming faithful. Faithful enough to act despite fear. Faithful enough to move without certainty. Faithful enough to trust me when you don't see the full picture. And that kind of faith changes outcomes. Now look ahead. There are moments coming where you will catch yourself smiling unexpectedly. Moments where you will realize, I'm okay. Moments where you will breathe deeply without tension. Moments where joy returns. Not forced, not borrowed, but natural. And when that happens, don't question it. Receive it. You don't have to earn relief. You don't have to justify happiness. You don't have to apologize for peace. It belongs to you. And as peace becomes familiar, strength will follow. You will handle challenges differently. You will respond instead of react. You will trust instead of spiral. And people will notice. Not because you announced your healing, but because you embody it. Now hear this clearly. I am not finished with you. This is not the peak. This is the foundation. There is still growth ahead, still unfolding purpose, still expansion. But it will come with balance, not burnout, with clarity, not confusion, with peace, not pressure. And you will walk into it steadily, not dragged, not rushed, not forced, but ready. Because you are not broken. You are restoring. And restoration is not an event. It is a process. One I am committed to finishing. Now I want you to lift your eyes beyond just what you are healing from and begin to see what you are healing for. Because restoration is never only personal. What I am doing in you will ripple outward in ways you cannot yet measure. You've been so focused on surviving your own pain that you haven't fully seen how your life will affect others. But there will come a moment, quiet, unexpected, when you realize someone else is standing stronger because you chose not to give up. Someone will breathe easier because you spoke honestly. Someone will feel less alone because you stayed present. Someone will find hope because your life proved healing is possible. This is legacy, not fame, not recognition, not applause. Legacy is impact that continues even when you're not aware of it. And your legacy is forming right now. It's forming in the way you choose healing over bitterness. It's forming in the way you respond instead of react. It's forming in the way you extend grace where you once only knew survival. You don't need a platform to matter. Your presence is already a platform. Now listen closely, because this part is important. There will be seasons ahead when life is good, stable, enjoyable, peaceful. And there will be seasons when challenges still arise. Healing does not mean the absence of difficulty. It means difficulty no longer defines you. You will face obstacles, but they will not consume you. You will experience disappointment, but it will not undo you. You will encounter loss, but it will not hollow you out, because you are rooted now, and rooted people bend without breaking. This is why I did not rush your healing. Shallow healing collapses under pressure. Deep healing holds. And you are becoming deep. Now let me speak to the voice you are developing. Not just your spoken voice, but your inner one. You are learning to speak to yourself with truth instead of cruelty. You are learning to interrupt self-accusation with compassion. You are learning to ask, is this thought aligned with who I'm becoming? That inner shift will change everything, because how you speak to yourself determines how you show up in the world. And as your inner voice heals, your outer life follows. Now I want to talk about the moment you've been quietly waiting for, the moment you realize you're no longer living in reaction to the past. It won't arrive with fireworks. It will arrive subtly. One day you'll encounter something that used to trigger you, and it won't have the same power. You'll notice your breath stay steady, your mind stay clear, your heart stay anchored, and you'll think, I'm different, not hardened, not numb, but whole. That's when you'll understand the healing worked, and you'll begin to trust yourself again. Trust your judgment, trust your instincts, trust your ability to navigate life, and trust is powerful. Because when you trust yourself, you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop looking for constant validation. You stop waiting for permission to exist fully. You stop shrinking to fit spaces that were never meant for you. You stand. And standing changes how the world responds to you. Now, let me speak into the future you haven't fully imagined yet. There are conversations ahead of you that will change direction. There are decisions you will make with calm confidence. There are paths you will walk that once felt impossible. And as you walk them, you'll realize something quietly astonishing. You are capable. Not because you never struggle, but because you learned how to rise. And you won't walk alone. I will continue to guide you. I will prompt you when to speak and when to stay silent. I will nudge you when to move and when to rest. I will protect you from paths that look good but lead nowhere. And I will never ask you to become someone you are not. I will only ask you to become who you truly are, without fear. Now hear this affirmation clearly and let it settle. You are not behind in life. You are not catching up. You are exactly where growth required you to be. And everything ahead of you will make sense of everything behind you. One day you'll look back, not with anger, not with regret, but with understanding. You'll see how the delays shaped patience, how the pain shaped compassion, how the silence sharpened your hearing. And you'll realize nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one prayer, not one night you thought you wouldn't make it through. I carried you through all of it, and I am still carrying you now. Now let me speak something final over your heart in this moment. You do not need to fear becoming hopeful again. Hope is not naive. Hope is brave. It takes courage to believe again after disappointment. It takes strength to open your heart after hurt. It takes faith to expect good after loss. And you have that courage. You are not fragile anymore. You are flexible, resilient, aware. And that makes you powerful. As you move forward, remember this: you are not walking away from your past. You are walking beyond it. It no longer defines your direction. It no longer controls your decisions. It no longer owns your identity. You do. And I am with you, still guiding, still restoring, still unfolding what's next. Your story is not ending, it's opening. Now I want you to pause for a moment, not to stop listening, but to become aware. Become aware of what is happening inside you right now. There is a settling taking place, a grounding, a quiet confidence beginning to replace tension. That is not imagination. That is alignment. You are coming into agreement with truth, and agreement changes things. Because what you agree with internally eventually manifests externally. For a long time you were forced to agree with survival. You agreed with fear because it felt necessary. You agreed with doubt because it felt safer than disappointment. You agreed with heaviness because it felt familiar. But now, you are choosing differently. You are agreeing with healing. You are agreeing with restoration. You are agreeing with truth. And that agreement is powerful. Because once you stop partnering with the lies that shaped your pain, those lies lose their authority. They cannot rule where they are no longer believed. And you are no longer believing them. Now let me speak clearly over your identity, because identity must be reinforced before it can be sustained. You are not fragile. You are not unstable. You are not one bad day away from falling apart. You are grounded. Even when emotions rise, you remain anchored. Even when uncertainty appears, you remain steady. Even when challenges come, you remain present. You are learning how to experience feelings without being ruled by them. And that is maturity. You are learning how to observe thoughts without obeying them. And that is freedom. You are learning how to move through life with awareness instead of fear. And that is strength. Now I want to mark this moment. Because there are moments in life when something quietly but permanently changes. This is one of them. You may not feel fireworks. You may not feel dramatic emotion. But something has shifted in your inner posture. And posture determines direction. From this moment forward, you will notice something. You recover faster. You don't spiral as deeply. You don't stay stuck as long. Because you are no longer fighting alone. You are no longer guessing who you are. You are no longer questioning whether healing is possible. You know it is. And knowledge brings confidence. Now I want you to hear this declaration, not as poetry, but as truth. You are not broken. You are not delayed. You are not overlooked. You are being restored with intention. Every part of you that felt scattered is being gathered. Every part of you that felt fractured is being unified. Every part of you that felt lost is being reoriented. Nothing about you is random. Your personality, your sensitivity, your resilience, your depth, all of it belongs. And as you move forward, you will stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you will begin asking, "How can I steward what I've been given?" That shift changes everything. Because you were never defective. You were developing. Now listen carefully, because this is where many people hesitate. As your life begins to reflect healing, you may feel exposed. Vulnerability feels risky when you're used to hiding pain. But do not retreat. You don't need to armor yourself again. You don't need to shrink back into old habits. You don't need to sabotage peace to feel familiar. Let peace become your new normal. Let joy feel safe. Let calm feel deserved. You do not need chaos to feel alive. You are alive because you are present. And presence is where life happens. Now let me speak over your days ahead. There will be mornings when you wake up without dread. There will be evenings when your mind finally rests. There will be moments of laughter that surprise you. And when they come, receive them. Don't question them. Don't downplay them. Don't brace for loss. Joy does not need justification. It belongs to you, and as joy increases, so will clarity. You will begin to see what truly matters. You will begin to invest energy wisely. You will begin to live intentionally instead of reactively. And your life will simplify, not because it shrinks, but because it focuses. Now hear this final reinforcement. You are safe to move forward. You are allowed to grow. You are permitted to become. You do not owe your past an explanation. You do not owe fear your obedience. You do not owe pain your loyalty. You owe your future your courage. And I am walking with you into it, not ahead of you, not behind you, with you, step by step, moment by moment. You are not rushing. You are not lagging. You are right on time. And everything unfolding from here will confirm what you are beginning to know. This was never about fixing you. It was about revealing you. Now listen to me carefully, because this is the moment where everything shifts. Not because something dramatic happens outside of you, but because a decision is being formed inside you. You've lived with pain for a long time. Long enough that it stopped feeling temporary. Long enough that it started feeling familiar. Long enough that part of you wondered if this was just who you are now. But I need to ask you something. Honestly, directly. Do you still believe change is possible? Or have you carried this weight so long that it blended into your identity? Because there is a difference between pain that visits and pain that is allowed to define. And today that difference is being confronted. There was a man who lay helpless for decades, watching life move while he stayed still, year after year, opportunity after opportunity, nothing changing. Until one moment, until one voice interrupted the pattern, until one command cut through years of stagnation and said, "Rise." And when he stood, everything shifted, not because his past changed, but because his posture did. So now I am asking you, not the version of you that learned to survive, not the version of you that learned to endure quietly, but the version of you that is waking up again. Do you want to be restored? Do you believe your mind can become clear again? Do you believe the heaviness does not have the final word? Do you believe your life can look different than it has, not perfect, not effortless, but free? If your answer is yes, even if it's whispered, even if it's trembling, then rise, not physically, spiritually. Rise out of agreement with delay. Rise out of familiarity with pain. Rise out of waiting for permission to live. Stop telling yourself one day. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting until you feel fearless. Freedom doesn't begin when fear disappears. Freedom begins when you move anyway. So rise. Take the step you've been avoiding. Make the call you keep postponing. Begin the habit you keep delaying. Return to prayer, not with performance, but with honesty. Ask for help without shame. Move forward without all the answers. This is not someone else's moment. This is yours. And you are not stepping alone. I am with you. My spirit is strengthening you from within. My hand is steadying your steps. My peace is anchoring your mind. You are not isolated. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. And I am not stopping halfway. I do not begin restorations I don't intend to complete. I do not awaken hearts I plan to abandon. What I started in you, I will finish. So shake off what clung to you in the dark. Release what kept you small. Step fully into the light. Walk boldly into what I prepared long before you arrived here. Your season is not ending. It is changing. Believe it. Not emotionally, but decisively. Receive it, not cautiously, but openly. Walk in it, not tomorrow, but now. And as these words settle into you, let them sink deeper than inspiration. Let them rebuild the way you think. Let them reset the way you see yourself. Let them realign the way you move through life. Because, hear me clearly, you are not who pain tried to name. You are not who fear attempted to define. You are not who survival mode shaped. You are who I say you are, and I say you are my beloved, chosen with intention, forgiven without condition, restored with purpose, strengthened for the journey, protected on every side, guided with wisdom, loved beyond measure. So if this message reached your heart, don't let it stop with you. Share it with someone who feels stuck in the dark. Send it to someone who needs permission to hope again. And in the comments, type Amen. Not as a ritual, but as a declaration that your old season no longer owns you and your new one has already begun. This was not coincidence. This was not random timing. This was an appointment. And I am making all things new in your life, starting now.